In seconds, a natural disaster can erase decades of economic progress. When a city floods, a wildfire rips through entire neighborhoods, or an earthquake wipes out infrastructure built over generations, decades of progress can vanish in a matter of hours. And in 2026, this is not a distant scenario. It's happening in real time.
In Venezuela, the confirmed death toll from last week's devastating twin earthquakes is nearing 2,000 people, though that number is expected to soar.
Early estimates suggest billions of dollars in direct damage, along with long-term economic disruption that could ripple through the country's already fragile economy. When the immediate danger passes, the economic damage is often still spreading. Rebuilding strains public budgets, insurance costs climb, businesses lose customers, and communities can spend years trying to recover. Natural disasters have shaped economic history because the losses rarely end when the storm does. The 1930s Dust Bowl turned the American Midwest into an ecological disaster zone, collapsing agriculture and forcing mass migration during the Great Depression.
From ABC News, this is World News Tonight. Reporting from ABC News headquarters, Charles Gibson.
Good evening. Hurricane Katrina seems destined to be the most costly natural disaster in American history.
In Hurricane Katrina, damages exceeded $160 billion, and entire neighborhoods in New Orleans never fully recovered economically or demographically. Then came Superstorm Sandy in 2012, which caused over $70 billion in damages, disrupting transportation systems, energy infrastructure, and housing markets across the northeastern U.S. But over time, disasters have not just become more expensive, they've become more economically complex. In June 2026, Venezuela experienced a series of devastating earthquakes that struck urban and coastal regions. Thousands of buildings were damaged or destroyed. Critical infrastructure, including roads, hospitals, and utilities, was severely impacted. Entire communities were displaced.
While earthquakes themselves are geologic events, their economic impact is a product of where and how people live. Urban density, the age of infrastructure, and preparedness are what determine whether a natural hazard becomes a financial catastrophe.
This distinction is critical. The hazard may be natural, but the economic disaster is often man-made in scale. So where does all the money go after a disaster? There are 4 major channels of economic loss: physical destruction of infrastructure and housing, business interruption, including lost wages and halted production, public recovery costs, including emergency response and rebuilding, and insurance losses, which drive up premiums or reduce coverage availability.
While physical damage is what tends to dominate headlines, from an economic standpoint, it's often the secondary losses that carry more weight. Think of the loss of productivity, severed supply chains, reduced investor confidence in the local region. When these compound over time, we call them the reverse multiplier effect. It's when businesses close, workers relocate, public services in that particular region start to weaken, and investment dries up all simultaneously. And so each of these kind of feeds into one another. And in a country like Venezuela, where you have a macro environment that is already under a ton of stress, that compounding just doesn't set growth back temporarily. It can permanently reorient an economy's long-term trajectory.
The background climate is warming, which exacerbates, among other things, extreme heat, wildfire seasons, and intense rainfall. But societal exposure to natural hazards and vulnerability to those hazards vary more over time and space than the climate change signal. A clear trend that emerges from the data is that more people and assets are exposed to natural hazards like floods and storms, and the increasing interconnectedness of the global economy means that societal resilience to climate is increasingly felt collectively.
A disaster in one region can disrupt global systems almost immediately. A damaged port can slow global shipping. A flooded semiconductor facility can impact electronics markets worldwide, and a disrupted energy grid can influence fuel prices across continents. Governments and cities are responding by shifting toward resilience-based planning. They're implementing stronger building codes, flood and fire-resistant infrastructure, early warning systems, and climate and risk-informed urban design. However, these upgrades are expensive and not evenly accessible across countries or income levels. That gap raises a difficult question. In the years ahead, will financial resilience matter as much as physical resilience? Natural disasters are no longer just environmental shocks. They're economic events, reshaping budgets, disrupting supply chains, and altering long-term development paths. As seen in cases like Venezuela, the real cost isn't just immediate damage, but how long recovery takes for both economies and the people inside them. In the end, the financial impact of a disaster isn't only about what's lost, it's about what never fully returns.